Hi, my name is Ariel, and today I'm going to do a reaction video on a podcast.
This time with native speakers, right? We get a lot of one-on-one and group time with native speakers from Boston to explore the city, to meet me and to meet Jessica, who's going to be there this time. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, awesome. It was so much fun. I didn't get to make it this time, but I know that you guys are gonna have an amazing time with Lindsay and Jessica. And it's so cool.
It's going to be so cool. All right. So, but Michelle, yeah, we had quite an adventure here in Boston for the first one, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we did, and I bet the next one is going to be pretty awesome as well.
Yeah, very cool. Okay. So, Michelle, by the way, yes, it was cool, but let's talk about a word that we used there in that conversation that I used. What did I say? I said quite.
Quite.
And how did I frame that? I said we had.
You said we had quite an adventure.
Yeah. So, what am I saying there?
It was like, oh, we had such an adventure, or like we had a very big adventure, right? It's kind of like we really had an adventure together.
Yeah, I mean, today, guys, is a good episode for you if you're ready to start getting a little bit artsy with your language, right? I mean, to add quite signifies a level of comfort with the language. But I think that some of you guys are ready, right, to use this. And we're going to show you today how to use it. But one thing we want to say is, Michelle, do Americans use this that much?
I don't think so. I don't think maybe if you want to like put off a certain vibe, I think it can sound kind of smart.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what that says about me, but I don't say it that much. I don't say it very much.
Yeah, there are some contexts in which I'd be more likely to say it than others, but you used an example when we were talking about this episode. What did you say, Michelle?
Yeah, like if someone says, "Oh, you should really watch this TV show." Oh, really? Oh, yeah, it's quite good. Like, okay. No, we wouldn't say that, but it sounds to me very British.
Yeah, British people would definitely say this. So we should be doing this episode with a British guest or something. We really should, but that's okay. That's okay. You can hear it from our perspective because I think there are times when some Americans use it. Can you hear me? Hello? I'm here. Hello?
Hi, I lost you.
Oh no, did I go out? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're back. We're back. No problem.
We're back.
Can you hear me? All right.
Yep.
So yeah, so we could do this again with a British guest, but we'll show you guys our perspective because I do think there are times when some Americans use it sometimes, but not as frequently and as commonplace as British people do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the way that you just said it, oh, it's quite good. Americans wouldn't say it that way.
No.
Unless they're trying to sound very smart and articulate, right?
Right.
Instead, I would say like, oh, it's really good. Or it's so good, right?
Yeah, exactly. That sounds more natural to me.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're talking about today. So let's throw out our listener's question today.
Okay. Here we go. Okay. Hi, dear host. So would you mind explaining the use of quite? It seems like it can be used in both negative, for example, not quite different, and positive sentences. Example, they are quite different. I know when quite is used in positive sentences, it has similar meanings as rather, very. Does it mean the same in negative sentences? Thank you for your hard work. You are rocking all ears English listeners world. Oh, thank you. Thank you for similar meanings as rather, very. Does it mean the same in negative sentences? Thank you for your hard work. You are rocking all ears English listeners world. Oh, thank you. Thank you for listening.
I love that expression. You are rocking their world.
You're rocking the world.
That sounds pretty natural, huh?
It does.
So in general, the meaning is what, Michelle? What's the overall meaning of this word quite?
Well, it's like completely or wholly, not WH wholly.
Yeah.
Fully to an extreme, right?
Right. Or as our listener said, rather, very. So it could mean, that's the basic meaning. So it's really about looking at these in chunks, common chunks, right? And when it's used in negative form, I mean, what does it mean in that case, Michelle?
It means not completely, right? So I'm not, this sentence I could see, I'm not quite sure what to do. That one sounds way more natural to me.
Yeah, and what is the difference then? Let's get to the nuances of the meaning here, because this is what our listeners can't get in their textbook. When I say, let's say it's my first day on the job and I'm working for you, Michelle. I'm in an office. You've just given me some instructions on a piece of paper, and I come to you and I say, I'm not sure what to do, versus I'm not quite sure what to do. What is the difference there?
So I'm not sure what to do means I really don't know. And I'm not quite sure is I'm not exactly sure what to do. And so it sounds a little bit more polite maybe, and it sounds, to me it sounds a little bit more sure of yourself.
Yeah, it's a little bit less direct when we say I'm not quite sure what to do. It means, I mean, you're somewhat sure, but you're not totally sure. But if I say I'm not sure what to do, it's 100% I'm lost. Right. And when you're in a workplace, it's your first day, you want to be a little nuanced about how you're saying things. Okay, guys? So I think that's really the high level tip we can give you guys today. So now, you know, what you want to do is go out and listen for when natives use it in that way. Right. To introduce like a subtlety. Because you don't want to say to your boss, I have no idea what to do. I'm totally lost. You shouldn't have hired me.
Yeah, you wanna keep a level of confidence. You want to make them confident in you.
Exactly. So that's one important thing to know. And then when it's used in a positive way, it can be an intensifier, right? Oh, he's quite a tennis player.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like that. Oh, he's quite good looking.
That sounds British to me, but there are times when we can use it to intensify, and it can be used in American English. It's very subtle, guys. I mean, I would recommend that you listen also to podcasts from British people. Like I think it's Luke's English podcast. Luke was a guest on our show years ago. His show has been out for a long time. I would recommend his show. He's also a great guy, really funny. I think he's a comedian, if I remember correctly. So check out Luke's podcast as well as our show, so you get a balanced sense of English from England and English from the US. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Good idea.
So, Michelle, I don't know if you can think of any other chunks, but when I was planning this episode, I was trying to think of some chunks that we might use. And one I came up with is, I'm not quite finished. And that would be another example, like, you know, if you're at work, you're working on a project, what's the difference again by saying between I'm not finished and I'm not quite finished?
I'm not quite finished is more like, I'm almost finished, but I haven't gotten there yet. Whereas I'm not finished, it's a little more direct. It's like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more blunt. Exactly. More direct. I'm just not finished.
Yeah, okay. Right.
But I'm not quite finished means you could be close. And it's more polite, sounds a little more professional, a little more filtered, I think is the word.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I've heard people say quite the opposite as a chunk. But to me, it sounds a little bit like, I don't know. What does that sound like to you? Like, yeah.
Well, if you say quite the opposite, it's quite
yeah, like if I say to you, like, oh, Michelle, look, I'm worried. It looked like you didn't have a good time at dinner the other night with my friends. I mean, how was it for you? You could say.
No, quite the opposite. I had a great time. I mean, I don't see anything like exactly wrong with it. Maybe it has like a little bit of an attitude.
Yeah, it's not wrong, and it is a chunk that I've heard some people use, but it does sound, to me it sounds, I don't know why, but it has a connotation of like, I'm thinking of like a wealthy woman in her 60s saying this. Quite the opposite. I don't know why it has that connotation for me. Does it have that connotation for you?
Quite the opposite. Yeah, I don't think I would really say it. Yeah, and if you say like, oh no, quite the opposite. I had a great time. I don't know. It just sounds a little bit funny.
So maybe we wouldn't say it, but I would. I think you guys should keep your eyes open for it. Like, it depends on who's around. You know, people have their personal vocabularies. And so it's a chunk. It's a thing. Don't learn it unless you want to, but it's a chunk where we use quite. What's another one, Michelle? Another chunk where we might use quite?
Right. Well, you could say, oh, well, we talked about this. She's quite the tennis player. She's quite the dancer.
Yeah. I might hear someone say this about their kid. You know, they're like praising their child. Oh, my kid is quite the tennis player.
Right. Yep, that's for sure. That sounds very natural.
And then another one. If you are a regular listener of All Ears English and you want to make sure that you hear from us 4 days a week, the most important thing that you can do right now is hit subscribe on your podcast player. You'll support the show and you'll stay in touch with us. So please hit subscribe right now. Thanks, guys.
He didn't quite make it.
What would be a context for this?
Well, it could be either he didn't get selected for something, like, oh, he didn't quite make the team, or he did, right?
Yeah.
Or he didn't quite, get chosen for whatever. Or you could say, or maybe.
So basically, what I got from this podcast is that the word quiet is used to, it could mean two things based on the either it's positive or negative. The positive meaning to the word quiet could mean very, rather, or completely, and the negative meaning to the word quiet is the opposite, which is not completely. Yeah. And using the word quiet is like, for example, an word I'm quite not sure what to do is probably more polite than I have no. I'm not sure what to do. Like, so thank you for taking your time to listen to my reaction.